Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hello from Boston. Hello, Will. Let me know you can hear me. Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Make sure you share the live. How's everyone doing? Hello, hello. Just gonna wait a few more minutes to get some people in here. Make sure you share the live. Hello. Make sure you share the live. How was everyone's weekend? Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you can hear me. That's great. I'm glad you had a great weekend. Make sure you share the live. Make sure you get yourself a drink. We're gonna have a great interview today, or this evening. Just give a few more minutes to get everyone else in here. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Give a few more minutes. Get yourself a drink. We're listening to some great pan from Toronto right now. I'll let you know who it is in a moment. All right. Hello, good evening, good night, good morning. Welcome to All Things Pan. Just now we just heard Out and Bad by New Dimensions out of Toronto. And our guest is from that band. So make sure you share the live. It's going to be a great conversation. My name is Danielle George. I am your host for the evening. If you're new to this page, we talk to panists, arrangers, tuners, builders, pan enthusiasts about all things pan. So on that note, I would love to welcome our guest. Let me see if I can find her. Live. It's going to be a great conversation. Oh, I forgot to mention, we're sponsored by Fantastics. They have everything from tennis sticks to base sticks. So make sure you message him on Instagram And if you live in North America, just hit me up and I will try my best to get them to you. Hello, Madame. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good.
It was
Spent
good.
it relaxing, getting excited for this interview. Thank you so much for having
Of
me.
course. It's International Women's Month, so I thought, why not commemorate this month with a lot of women? Because we need to kind of support each other in everything that we're doing, especially in the pan community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Miss Aldene, I'm going to start off easy and then we'll get into the harder questions. But before we just begin,
Mm.
those that are watching, you're more than welcome to ask any questions that you have because she cannot leave. Just put them in the question bubble down below on the right side of your screen. So we'll start off first. Aldene, who are
Sure.
you?
My, my name is Aldene. I'm from Toronto. I'm of Trinidadian and Jamaican descent, born in Toronto. I've been playing pen since 2002. Um, yeah, I grew up in pen, was born into pen, and just in love with it, and have been playing ever since. I've played in New Dimension primarily, but Pen Fantasy is also like a home band because my parents were in that band originally, so they're very near and dear to my heart, and I played with them a few times as well. So yeah, just that's really much me in a very quick nutshell, Pan related.
Nice. So how did you get involved with pan? Was it your parents or was it someone were you out somewhere and you saw pan and you're just like, I need to be a part of this band? How did that start for you?
Oh, it was my parents, easily, easily. They started in Pen Fantasy in the 80s. So, like, literally, I was born into the band. Like, just,
Mm,
it was normal. So, going to pen practice was just a normal thing, to do in the week, with the stage side if we had gigs or on the weekend. And then, obviously, in the summertime leading up to Pen Alive. So, it just was normal. It was always something that I did and always something I loved to share with my friends and people around me, especially those that were curious and didn't have any personal contact with the instrument.
yeah.
So it's always been something that was just very normal to me and just like a no-brainer. Like I told them when I wanted to start playing, they're like, oh, okay. Like I was ready. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
I'm sitting on the sidelines, like I'm watching, I see what's going on. Okay, what's up? I'm ready.
So they didn't force you, that you just wanted to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Not for
Wow, that's amazing. Because normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you put that pressure on children too, it could make them kind of like run from it and like
Yeah.
it could be a lot of pressure. I think you have to let them come to it naturally, and I'm happy that they gave me that space to come to it because it
Yeah.
worked. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you first started, what was your pan? What was your love? Was it a tenor? Was it the bass?
I was a guitar gal. I was holding down the guitar at 8 years
Really?
old. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly,
Okay.
playing with grown men, and I loved it. Like holding it down, holding my own, showing them the notes, and like it was great. Like I loved it. And then after a few years, I moved to tenor.
Okay. So your first love is guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I won't tell your guitar pan that. Is there any other pan you would love to try that you haven't had the chance to yet?
Four pen and six bass. Yeah,
Okay.
like I've dabbled in them. I play seconds now,
Yeah.
so I switched from there. I finally made the jump after I think like maybe how long was it? A good amount of time on tenor, like over a decade, maybe like 15 years on decade.
Oh,
Or
wow.
excuse me, 15 years on tenor. I finally switched to seconds last year.
Mhm.
But four pen, I would like to play for real in six bass. So like, I've dabbled in it in practice. I'll pick up some lines, and I feel like
Yeah.
once you one pen, you can play them all. But I haven't actually learned a full composition on either of those two, and I would love to do that.
Well, Pan Alive is coming up, so
I'm already on seconds. I'm holding it down on seconds. This is my second year. I'm looking forward to it. I love
yeah.
seconds. I love it. I've been waiting to play, but I was scared. So
Okay.
now that I'm in it, I'm like, why did I wait so long? So no, I'm in it for a little bit, trying to soak in it, bask in it.
Okay. Okay. So I was gonna ask you again. Sorry, I'm looking for my questions.
Yes.
You started on double second guitar, all that stuff. Have you thought about arranging music, or have you done that?
Um, I'm I pitched it. in like a fun way. There's actually like a salsa song that I brought to New D, or I'm bringing to, and I would like to do just as like a little stage side song. So I would consider arranging in like a minor scale, but it's not something I want to do like on a grander scale. I think there's people far more skilled than me who have way more to contribute in that sense.
Yeah.
I know I'm able to, but I definitely, it's not what I want to focus on.
What do you want to focus on?
I like communicating about Pan. I like spreading the word. I like educating people about it. That's kind of like my bread and butter. Especially to people who aren't familiar and people who have questions, people who have maybe misconceptions or need clarification. Like, that's what I love to do. So that's like the avenue I want to pursue aside from being a player, because there's no way I'm not playing. Like, I'm definitely playing. Aside from that, definitely just being like a vocal figure and like an ambassador in that sense of like, you know, someone in this part of the world that can actively and accurately speak on it, refer people to, engage people, and give them something to look forward to regarding Pan, you know?
Have you thought about going to schools and doing the teaching side of that, or is that something like in the future? Yeah,
the future, definitely. Like, again, not maybe me necessarily leading it, but being like a liaison, being somewhere like along the lines of an MC, essentially, like hosting things related to Pan is definitely something I want to pursue and like get into. So this is like the first step. So thank you again so much for having me, because this is my first interview. Great.
Of course. I'm breaking your breaking your shell now. All right. So since you want to be an MC related to Pan, have you thought about maybe being a correspondent, like talking to different Pan groups and getting their ideas and thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely open to it. It's great because there's so much community and family in the Toronto Pan scene. So it's helpful that I have people that I know and other bands I'm comfortable talking to. So it's not something I've done as yet, but I'm not shy to do it. It's just more like kind of laying the foundation so that I have something to bring when I'm ready. But it's definitely something that's in the works that I'm looking forward to doing. Absolutely.
All right. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the Pan community in Toronto. How is that compared to everywhere else? Because I know when we briefly spoke about it when I was visiting, it really opened my eyes on the Pan community in Toronto. Do you want to kind of explain that to our viewers?
Yeah, so in Toronto, there's quite a handful of bands that have been here. There are some that have been around longer than others. And within those bands, there are a lot of people that cross over, have played in other bands, have friends and family members in other bands. So it's great because not only are there bands located in different parts of the city for access, but there's also different types of bands if you're looking for different styles. So I think it's great that we have so many options and varieties within this area itself of Toronto GTA. I think just getting something solidified so people can find these bands easier is the next step, but there's definitely that available. And Pan Alive is always great to see the other bands, see people playing between other bands, and just catching up with people that you don't normally see. So I love that about the Toronto Pan community, for sure.
Yeah. Do you find it's hard to get members into your band or any other band in Toronto, or is it pretty easy?
I find it can be difficult because it depends on if you're looking at people who already play Pan or if you're looking to acquire people who have never played Pan. So if you're looking to get people who have already played Pan, it may be hard in some ways to kind of get people on board if they already have an allegiance to another band, if it's logistically easier for them to get to, and different factors like that. So that makes it difficult. And also convincing someone maybe to find the time to play in multiple bands can be daunting. And then on the other side, getting people who have never played Pan to come and play Pan can be challenging because they may not be familiar with Pan culture. They may have maybe bad habits from other instruments that you have to now break because the learning style is definitely different and unique in itself. And then you also may have people who are shy and don't know where to start or how to start. So between the two, it's difficult to get players, I would say. It's not impossible, but I think it can be difficult.
Yeah. How do you think someone that wants to become the liaison for Pan in Toronto, how would you introduce someone to Pan just to say, hey, this is what it entails. This is the commitment, because it is a commitment compared to any other instrument. How would you explain that to someone?
I would definitely first take them to Panellive, because that's like the biggest event that we have here in Toronto, just so they can kind of see everything in its entirety at once.
Right.
And then from then I would break it down in terms of like, this is this band, this is this band. They're in this part of the city, because geography plays a big part. Toronto is a big city and the GTA, and traveling is a huge factor that either encourages or demotivates someone to not play pen. So introducing them to that and letting them know where to find pen, and then also just letting them know the history of like pen in Toronto, as well as kind of what to expect. And then I think actually bringing them to different pen yards so they can see what it's like, because you're right, it is a commitment. So I think actually like seeing it so you know what you're getting into would be really helpful. But you also just have to try it. Like, you just have to try it. I can't really like sell you too much, you know what I mean? Part of like the appeal of pen is that it's something that you kind of also just get thrown into. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way that they can get thrown into it. Probably how I do it.
Just push them in, just hope they swim.
Yeah.
When it comes to your band per se, how is that just getting gigs and new people for you guys? Has that been challenging for you, just as your band?
I think getting new players has been the biggest challenge, because we are an older band. The band's been around since 1994, and the two band leaders have passed. So a lot of the members, the core members that were with the band, have gotten older or don't play as much or moved away. And then when the two leaders passed as well, of course, you know, that made it difficult, and it created a shift. And then obviously COVID as well was a big factor for everyone. So we do have a core band right now, members, but definitely in terms of numbers, getting players has been the challenge. But we have been like getting some traction, and in terms of gigs, definitely like the three arrangers, Tadell, Richard, and Denise have been doing an amazing job of individually and collectively getting bands for like either smaller sides of the band or the band as a whole. So we've had some great gigs recently. We've had Scotiabank gig, we played at Snowflakes, we played at CBC, being Black in Canada. We normally play in Paint the Town Red, which is like a Canada Day parade on Lakeshore and Etobicoke, for those of you in Toronto. So we have certain things that are kind of reoccurring and things that are gearing up. So gigging wise, the gigging has been great, and I'm very much looking forward to like the new gigs and the things that are happening in the back end that will come to light. And that's been great.
Yeah, I've been following you guys for a while, and I've noticed the gig traction has definitely picked up for you guys, and that's amazing. I don't know if it's because you guys have been more on social media. I don't know what's happening, but it's worked. Whatever you guys are doing, it's working.
Yeah. Social media is a huge factor too. I think every band can capitalize on social media and really use it to its full potential, because pen is still so new and still really in its infancy, especially online. You're doing a great job of like being a pillar of bringing people to pen through technology. But in terms of bands, definitely more work can be done. And I think the more work that's done online, the more beneficial it'll be for all the bands. Like, people are going to see it and be like, all right, what's up? Let me book. How do I get you guys? What are the details? What are the numbers? You know what I mean? But people need to see. And like, online is a very palatable way for people to get a first step before seeing it in person and really being enamored with it.
And I don't know how it is in Toronto, but is steelpan still a niche in Toronto, whereas I'm having a Caribbean party, let me hire a steel band? Or is it?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so, but I think it's still, it's a niche, but I think it's still embedded into Toronto. Like, a lot of schools have pen within their curriculum. So people may not be actively searching it out, but it may be because they already have a basis.
Okay.
And like, Caribbean is something very visible. Most people, anyone who's born in Toronto knows about it, and people who come to the city then learn about it. And obviously Toronto is a beautiful melting pot and very multicultural, and we have a, you know, influx of people all the time. So it is something that we become familiar with. But I think it is still niche because like anything, it could be kind of just commodified, or you could really see like the true essence of it. And there's definitely, you know, both aspects of it. So I think in that sense, that's what makes it niche still. Yeah.
Is there a way that you think we can come out of that zone to kind of make people think it is just like a piano or a guitar? We can play anything and anywhere. Do you think that will happen? within the next 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that can absolutely happen within the next 10 years. I think conversations like this, I think just it being more visible, I think people speaking about it will be a huge breaking point for it to be more recognized. But again, in Toronto, I would say it is fairly embedded. Like, you know, every year, for instance, on like breakfast television on the news, there's always like a segment with a panist. There's always panist working in the subway. So people are familiar with the sound of it. Again, it's in the school system. So people are still familiar with it, and it has been in the school system for years. So I think in that way, the only thing to make it maybe more mainstream would just be seeing it outside of Carnival more frequently and outside of Black History Month. All the other months in between that kind of get neglected, and outside of like holiday, you know, outside of the corporate seasons when they're calling you like, hey, we need a panist. Outside of that, you want it to become more regular and something more normalized where it's like, yeah, I'm going to pen practice. We have a gig. We have this, you know. But definitely, I see it happening because it's happening. It's definitely happening. There's a lot of young panists in the city who are gigging, doing their things, and it's just amazing. So I'm absolutely hopeful. Yeah, for sure.
That's good. That's good. Hopefully it will come over here because I'm trying and it's difficult.
Yeah, you guys out there in the West.
Yeah.
Moving it down, definitely. I'm hoping it gets on over there, you know?
You've mentioned about the young soloists. Have you soloed before? Is that your thing? Have you tried it? Are you doing it?
When you say solo, do you mean like dibble and dabble in freestyle soloing, or do you mean playing individually?
A bit of both.
I have.
Okay.
In terms of like actually soloing and like just freestyling, going with the music, that is not really my forte, and I don't really enjoy it as much. That's not really what I enjoy. But in terms of being by myself and doing gigs, yeah, I've definitely done that. Like when I was younger, my dad's definitely like, you practicing, we going on gig, you had in gig, right? You're going in thing. So I was doing it, and it was fine, and I enjoyed it. Are you
still doing it?
Yeah, like I've been gigging with more, gigging with the band. Not really myself as much, but I enjoy like accompanying someone and supporting them. Like I don't necessarily need to be the star of the show in that way, so that's why I don't do individual gigs as much.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to hire Aldene and maybe Fadel or anyone else that she wants to gig with, make sure you hit her up.
Play some chords on the tenor, hold it down on the seconds, guitar, whatever you need. I got you.
Now I know. I'll bring you down here if I need.
Yeah, get competent. Yep, the duo is nice.
Is there a type of song or genre of songs that you enjoy playing more than others, or are you just open to anything?
Ooh. Like, I love playing soca first on pen, definitely. Definitely. But I do enjoy playing R&B as well, and I would love to play more like salsa and Latin. I have in the past, but just like more. There's just too many similarities in the music that I think it's something that needs to be done more and done right. So
I agree. Well, when you arrange that song, let me know, and I will call Fadel and be like, she has a song that needs to be done.
Yeah. Yes, I'm so excited. It's gonna be sick. Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Do you think you would be composing any songs? Like, do you have any music in your head that you just want to get out on pan and you just haven't had the chance?
I do. I have a good ear. But would I be a lead composer? No, but I definitely could like assist in composition and like production. Like definitely that's something like I'm interested in and have like worked on myself, like aside from Tadel, and like I would pick out songs that I hear and play it on pen and just kind of lay it out and just have it formulated, do nothing with it, but just like pick it out because I liked to hear it. So it's definitely something I'm capable of, and I would do it more. Yeah.
See, learning a lot about you that no one really thought about.
Yeah. You know, and I'm very open. If you ask, I'll tell it, but no one's asked the right questions, right? So you're asking the right questions.
Okay. All right, let's see if I can think of any more. When it comes to pan in Trinidad, have you had that opportunity to do that?
Yes, I have. I was so thankful and grateful that I was able to play in the International Panorama competition, the ICP, in 2015.
Okay.
Playing in like a band representing Canada. So that was amazing. That was so much fun. I have not yet played for Panorama. I would love to, and I know I will.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was an amazing experience. It was hot as hell. It was great. Like we were practicing in Kuva for a week in the day, staying in Tunapuna. So that drive
Oh my
south for,
gosh.
if you know, you know. um, and then once we're actually on the drag practicing, like everyone had told us about the heat, but when you really get in the heat, it's something else. But the feel, the spirit, the connectivity, all of it just surging through was like amazing. Like I'll never forget the experience playing on the stage. Great. Both my guitars fully came off. I picked them both back up mid-song, kept playing, like nothing could stop
Wow.
the day. And a couple people had caught it and they were like, wow. Like they were my parents' friends and they're like, if your parents saw, they'd be proud. Because I'm like, listen, we're in Trinidad. I've seen pans fall, my pans fall before. You better pick it up. You better pick it up and keep going. And
Mm-hmm.
I did, and it was great. It was so much fun. Like it was an amazing experience. Yeah,
So from
yeah.
that experience, what did you think you took away from that into your real life, everyday pan experience, just in general?
Hmm. Um, I think a lot of personal accountability, and I
Mm.
say that because I find the more you're accountable to yourself in terms of how you play, retaining your notes, practicing, making sure you're getting everything, the more you take accountability for yourself, the more effective the practices will be, the better the flow will be, the more unified everything will become. And I think that was just something I kind of took away because I did notice, like, you know, maybe some people needed more practice than others, but we had kind of learned the song prior because we had played it in Toronto with some adjustments. So just
Okay.
little things that I'd noticed, and like, okay, obviously everyone has different learning styles, but that was definitely just something I noticed. And obviously being in Trinidad, the caliber of pen is different.
Yeah.
And I think just really seeing it more was like, okay, yeah, you got to just make sure you're accountable for yourself. And I
Yeah.
think the more you are in terms of pen, the better experience you'll have, especially in Trinidad.
Do you think that has worked for your group and other groups in Toronto? Just practicing more and taking accountability
I
that
think
you've
so.
seen that or you noticed?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. Like I've noticed other bands practicing more, us practicing more, and like just everyone gigging. Like everyone should be getting gigs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's great that everyone has reasons to practice more and get better for themselves. Like that's what you want to see happen for something to blossom and really flourish. So I
Mm-hmm.
love seeing that. Like even for myself, like I said, I switched to second, so I have to put in more hours to make sure I'm at the level that it needs to be at because I can't slow down the band because I switch pens.
Right.
No, no,
Exactly.
no, no, no. You know,
Yeah.
like, so absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you before we continue, those that are just joined, this is Aldene from Toronto. If you have any questions that maybe I haven't asked her yet, please put it in the question bubble below. Um, I was going to ask you, from you when you first started to now, the experiences that you've gone through, what is the one thing that you would tell yourself back then that you know now?
Try a different pen earlier on. Like, don't get stuck to one pen
Yeah.
because you might find your joy on another. You may just be comfortable with what you're on, but you may excel in something else. That would just be it. Because if I switched to seconds earlier, I think like it would be different because I would have gone through all the pans already. But I just got so comfortable with tenor and enjoyed playing it that I was like, okay, I'm gonna be on it. But you know, like
Mm-hmm.
shout outs to Shayna in the second. But yeah, once I switched to seconds, I was like, oh man, you should have done this a long time ago. What were you afraid of? So getting over that fear, I think, is like the one thing I would tell my younger apprentice. Like, don't be afraid.
Yeah. And I think that's with a lot of pan players because they are comfortable with that one pan and don't want to venture out. I
Yeah.
feel like here's the thing. I think a lot of bands should like one person just rotate. Everyone should just rotate one
Yeah.
and just have that one song that you're comfortable maybe on the bass or something. So
Yeah.
when you do play out, you know what's going on.
Yeah. we've definitely done that in the band. Like, you know, people playing different pens, especially like you're saying on gigs with the stage side where you're able to do that. And
Mhm.
that was so much fun because you get a chance to play a pen in like a less pressurized setting. So I think you're more open and receptive to learning and like being vulnerable in the pen. And most times you get it faster. So like
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, six bass is something I want to play, but thinking about it, I've actually played a song on bass at gigs multiple times, but like that to me still wasn't competition, you know what I mean? Playing a full like 10-minute piece composition,
Yeah.
but it's still something that's like, okay, we're able to do it. And yeah, I think just people playing more pens is great for the band because it also gives the arrangers more flexibility. It allows them to move more pieces around and not get so structured and stuck in where players want to play versus where players can play.
Exactly. And it
Mhm.
also helps when a player can't make a gig. It's like, oh wait, you're here. You can play this pan while someone else is taking over a tenor or something.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. It may take a couple seconds to like just get your hands around it, but you can do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just trying to think. So when it comes to Panel Live, because we mentioned it a few times, have you guys started practicing?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a song in mind? Because I know when I was there, you guys were kind of going back and forth between two songs.
I feel like it's still, I feel like there's
So,
still back and forth, that's the back and forth. Because even
yeah.
I myself am getting swayed. Like I was one way in the start and I'm like,
Mhm.
but I could see the other side of things. This makes sense. But then, you know, my heart's like, nah, so
Yeah.
kind of in between stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Still there. I thought you guys would have decided by now, but you know.
I'm looking forward to practicing. Like the drum beat's starting to get me. It's getting warm here. Like it's
Mhm.
about to be spring on the 21st. Like, you know, the time already went forward. We're already went forward. So like,
Yeah.
you know, mass bands are about to start launching. Like I'm getting itchy. So we need to start practicing.
For those that don't know the pan community, for your band especially, how often do you guys normally practice?
Like during the season, definitely at least 5 times a week. And I think before we were doing 7 days a week, and then we realized having
Wow.
those 2 days off was helpful. So maybe not 5 days straight, but
Mm.
definitely giving people a break gives them a chance to retain it. And then you're kind of more looking forward to coming back, and then you have less absences because people have days that they know they'll be off. Versus committing everyone to 7 days, and obviously there's going to be times not everyone can make 7 days, and it affects the delivery of the music. You'll have to kind of slow up because you learn some and now you have to wait for people to retain it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the pace we've been going at, and that normally would go from end of June through all of July.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's
we want to start earlier so that, you know, we have more time and you don't have to go as much and people can have a break in between. We could do more social things. People can, you know, come together in other ways. We can have more gigs because we're not always practicing for Panda Live. So I think that's something,
right.
yeah,
Right.
looking to implement as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So during the off season, are you guys practicing twice a week, once a week? Does it just kind of matter on the gig that's coming up?
Well, we haven't started yet, but like
Okay.
when we have a gig, normally it would be like at least twice a week plus, depending on people's schedule and like how close the gig is to when we start practicing, and also the time of year. Obviously, we're both here in Canada, so you know that weather is a factor.
Right.
So when we have an indoor space, it gives us more flexibility, like you saw this year. But when we didn't have that as an option, then we were limited to just pretty much the summer, maybe into September, maybe a little into October, depending. At the actual pen yard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there and I heard that you guys never really had a practice space, you guys were practicing under a bridge, I believe, during the summer.
Yeah.
How is that? I just want to, I'm just going to be.
I can see your face. You're like.
Is it difficult for bands to get a space in Toronto? Like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Toronto real estate is crazy through the roof, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, where's the money coming from? Where's the funding at? So, like, where are these bands acquiring money to be able to sustain it for 12 months?
Mm-hmm.
And number three, do bands even want to practice all 12 months? So these three factors, I think, make it very difficult. So if you have the space and you're able to facilitate it, it's obviously great, and some bands have that space, so that's amazing. But I think on a whole, the ratio of bands that have a space all year versus don't is definitely disproportionate. But it's difficult in the city, and I think, again, funding is a huge part of that.
Yeah. Is there a way you guys, because I'm in the West, I don't know any better, so is there a way you guys can get sponsorship or anything like that in Toronto? Is that a possibility?
I think there is. I think it just depends on, firstly, how the band's business structure is set up. Because to actually go ahead and go through these grants, you kind of have to have everything solidified on paper. So if you don't have that framework already laid out, or people that are willing to go through the challenges of writing up grants, getting it looked over and pitching it, then it limits what there is available. Not that it isn't available, but it kind of limits the scope. So I know that, like, there are bands that have done it, but it is difficult in itself to first kind of get everything established, because steel bands are different. They're very unique entities. So finding people that understand the nuances of it to help you put everything on paper so that you can get that funding is, I think, a challenge. But I'm sure there are fundings available. I'm sure there are federal grants and even provincial grants for arts and culture that are there. And a lot of time these things don't go collected because people don't apply. So I myself don't know any off top, but I'm sure that there are some.
I think you should look into it.
Yeah.
And I will help you if I can.
I'm absolutely going to. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I know in some Caribbean countries they practice in school, like school rooms that aren't being used. Is that a possibility for you guys?
Yeah, I think just if bands have a connection with the school, if bands get permission from the school, that in itself is another loophole that you'd have to go through with getting kind of vetted into the system and finding ways within the school board that can pull you in. So like, unless you're a teacher or you have a connect, that's a barrier, but it is a possibility. But again, a lot of things I think in Penn that make it still very young in Toronto is that the lack of connections between some of these places and the bands themselves. So looking to bridge that gap is like something I want to like look into, because there's definitely like a discrepancy. The bands are there, it's there. Yeah. The resources are there, but like they're not sure to contact us, and we don't really know how to contact them.
Well, I'm gonna try my best to help you.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be done. I feel like bands in Toronto are really good.
Yeah.
It hurts my heart that you guys don't have a space.
It's hard, because like there's definitely other arts and cultural communities that have these things and it's available, but it's just getting everyone on the same page to do it, spending the time and going through it, and that's a painstaking process. Like a lot of people that play band are volunteers, right? So getting people to commit their time outside of the initial commitment is difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. So that's something I want to look into doing, because it would be so beneficial for everyone. Like there's room for everyone. There's money out there. People want to see these things. We could all make livings off this full time easily. But just getting things in motion is the difficult part.
It is.
Yeah, but it's not impossible. It's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, just that bridge. Like there's 2 islands and just needs to get that bridge.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we have some new viewers. If you just joined, make sure you put your question bubble in the little Instagram thing there. But yeah, is there anything else you want to tell us about you and Pan and your parents? Are your parents still playing?
No. Well, my dad like gigs here and there, but they don't play like a band setting anymore. But they were playing since the 80s. Like I think my mom started playing in 86. Before that? No, before that. She started playing before that, when she was in high school.
Okay.
So she went to high school in Toronto, and her and Wendy Jones went to school together, and they were taught by Earl Lapierre Sr., as well as other people that were taught by him, and then they eventually went on, and Penn Fantasy was formed, and my parents were earlier members in the band and played into the band into early 2000s. And then again, that band's like family, so it's great for me that I have a very unique perspective of being born into one band and being very heavily tied to one band, and playing in another band and being very heavily tied to it. Because Dimension was the first band that I played in. So when my parents moved to Scarborough in 2000, we started playing in New Dimension because they were closer. So again, proximity was the factor. And then I started playing in the band, and I've been playing in the band since. So, like, yeah, it's great. Again, I have a unique perspective, and I love both bands, and yeah, they both, every band is unique in the city, and I think that's why I want to push so much for Penn to be at the forefront and Penn to get more recognized, like Penn in tandem with Mass, because I know in Toronto there is a lot of I feel like in some ways it's disproportionate in terms of the relevance and how much Mass gets pushed to the forefront compared to Penn, especially in season. So bridging that gap as well. But there's room for it. I think just someone needs to go ahead and say it. So like I want to speak up more about it because I'm heavily involved in both. Like I work for a Mass band, I work for Tribal Carnival, shout out to Tribal. Play in Tribal Carnival, so like that's like my band, and like I love Mass, but in the same breath I'm a Pan player, and there's room for both. Right. And just bringing both to people, because some people like one, some people like both, and some people may have never even seen it together. So really doing that in the city is like something that I really want to do. And like I'm actually going to apply for the Toronto Face of Carnival contest this year because I want to like really push like Mass and Pan like together because there hasn't been a Panis, and Pan is still niche in Toronto in that way. So be like, hey, I love Mass, I love Pan. They're both equally important to Carnival. They both represent Carnival in the city. Let me show you what it's about and where you can find it. So yeah.
Does Pan, the parade in Toronto for Carnival is huge. Has Pan ever been involved in the parade?
What? Listen.
Yeah.
Pan on the road in Carabana, if you know, you know. From when Carabana was on University Street in Toronto, if you know, you know. Yeah. Pan has been part of the parade for years. Only recently has it changed. And I think a big part in that is due to a lot of Pan players being more involved in Mass and it becoming difficult to facilitate both happening. Like from experience, I used to play Pan, and I know like, okay, if I'm playing, when I started playing Mass, it was like, I'm going to play Mass, I'm going to cross the stage because the stage was normally first. Right. I'm going to cross the stage on my costume, jump up with my band. Once I get, you know, a little groovy, a little halfway into the road, I'm going to go find Nudie. I'm going to run up, put my t-shirt over, my costume. I'm going to play Pan for the rest of the road. Get to the end of the parade road, because if you remember on Lakeshore, you know, you get to the end and then walk back up and then jump up and play Mass again. But as the parade route itself changed, as I think people's interests changed, as less people started playing Pan as they got into like their adulthood and just focused on Mass, it shifted and it made it more difficult for bands to facilitate actually going on the road and bringing a full band on the parade. As well as I think some people didn't respect it as much anymore, so it just became difficult sometimes. Like you're getting into arguments with people on the road, they're coming touching up in the pen, doing strippiness, and like it just gets to a point where you're like, is this worth it? So wow. As it is right now, I know a couple bands went down last year. If you have the numbers, it's great, and I know there's lots of people who want to chip along a steel band. So the bands that are doing it, like, please keep doing it because we need it. But I understand why it's not feasible for every band. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know you said location is very difficult for people to get around to different bands in Toronto. Is there like a central space where if not a lot of bands have enough people, if they can all come into one just for the parade? Is that something that's possible? Has it been?
Like I think it's definitely possible. I think there are things that are going to happen this year that's going to be great that people should be looking forward to in the city regarding Penn. I think there's going to be a lot more events that house multiple bands in one spot that people can go to. So I'd encourage you to like stay tuned to the Ontario Steel Pan Association page, the OSA page. But yeah, I think there definitely are going to be good things coming that kind of have Penn in a centralized spot for people.
Yay. Cannot wait. I will definitely be tagging them after this interview to let people go to that page and check them out, maybe follow you as well.
Yeah, I hope you're here for Carabana. You're going to be here, right?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
Not try, babes. You need to be here. Come on.
Okay. It's going to be tiring because Carnival here is literally 3 days after.
True, true. But the
So
network, Toronto,
I know.
Carnival, you
I
gotta
know.
bask in all of it. You could do it. It's just gonna be straight pump, you know? Just prepare for now.
So what you're saying is I'm preparing for Trinidad because I'll be getting no sleep.
Yep.
Okay. All
Yep.
right, cool. Cool. All right, I'll come then. I'll
Yep.
come. Okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Before we end this conversation, again, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the question bubble. Um, what is one fun fact about you that no one knows? But keep it
Um,
PG because I gotta post this later.
no one knows.
Like, do you not like chocolate?
Oh.
Do you,
Ew,
if you
chocolate's
could eat,
lame. Chocolate's lame, please. I don't like chocolate. No.
I,
But I think people know that about me. My palate is very unique. Okay, I'm a foodie. If you don't know that about me now, like I pride myself on being a foodie. I want to like food vlog more and bring Caribbean food to the forefront more. That's also something I want to be very vocal about
Mhm.
here. Through pen, through mass, through everything, just showing how culture is, you know, the music, the dance, and the food. So just kind of being like a spokesperson for Caribbean food in the city. I'm manifesting that and putting that out for this year. So that's like something, if you didn't know, now you know. Also, I'm the owner of Gal Vibes Accessories. I'm a 90s and 2000s inspired brand for the 90s girl in the 2000s world. I'm going to be relaunching in like April. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah.
I will have carnival accessories as well. So stay tuned for that. That's also a fun fact.
Oh my goodness. So there was like 4 fun facts there.
If I'm going to do the pitch, I just got to give it all at once. You know what I mean? I got to lay it all out there, lay all my cards out.
I love it. The fact that you don't like chocolate, though, I don't know if we can be friends after this.
It's like, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So some chocolates I can get down with, but
Okay.
it's never the ones you would think or never the ones that you would like. Like, I love Kinder Surprise. Like, Kinder Eggs, like, who eats that? I love those. What else? Like, you know those cream eggs around Easter that have, like, the mousse inside?
Yeah.
I love those.
Interesting.
Regular cream eggs. Like, chocolate filled with stuff, but not, like, normal.
Okay. Okay. I get it. So Lindor is, like, not your thing.
Lindor's okay, but it's kind of rich. I don't really, like, I don't really dabble in chocolate. Like if we're talking vegetables, oh, I'm your girl. You know what I mean? We can get into it with veggies, but chocolate is like, you know?
So instead of like a box of chocolate, you like a box of like vegetables and fruit?
It's like if you can give me like some cooked food, like some curry goat and some roti or something, oh, we're there.
Okay.
Oh, we're there. You know what I mean? Like real food. Yeah, real food over everything.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Good to know. Good to know. If anyone wants to sweet talk Aldene, you know what to do. Well, again, thank you again for being on the show. It was an amazing conversation. We literally talked about all things Pan.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity and the platform. Like this is great. Again, my first interview. I predict many more this year, and thank you for like having this platform for other panists and pen enthusiasts, people in the community to speak on. Because it's great that you're doing it, because no one else was doing it. So shout out to you and keep doing it. Thank you guys for watching and keep supporting. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And when you apply for Face of Carnival, please put on your page so I can vote.
I will. I'm like, I was kind of nervous and talking myself out of it, but my friends were like, do it. Like, do it for Pen. Pen and Mask needs to be together. And like people who know me know I'm really into Carnival. I'm really into it. By the way, if you're interested in coming to Cayman Carnival, June 28th to July 4th, check out Tribal Carnival Cayman. Just had to put that in there.
Wait,
I'm very into the that's my deal. Like that's I work for Tribal Carnival, so I'm absolutely biased, but absolutely it's a great time. Play with them in Toronto, great experience. So because I'm so much into the mass and into the pen, I'm just looking forward to again really just putting it out there for people and just kind of being that face to put them together. Yeah,
it needs to happen for sure.
Yeah. it hasn't happened. It's about time. People are waiting. So
Exactly. And you're that person.
Yeah, I think so.
If it doesn't happen, I'm going to fly down there and make some threats because
I'm feeling good about it.
It's overdue. It needs to happen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for watching. I will be on again next week, either for an open discussion or an interview. So if there's open discussion, you're available. You're more than welcome to hop on.
Oh, perfect.
And just say whatever's on your mind.
Anytime. Anytime. Thank you so much,
everyone. Yeah, of course. Everyone, have a great night. And see you next Monday. Bye, everyone.
Good night.